In the glittering chaos of a corporate holiday party, a single dad made a split-second decision to help his ice-cold boss home. But what he discovered the next morning would shatter his quiet life and force him to confront a truth that could either destroy or heal them both. The ballroom of the Waldorf Astoria was ablaze with holiday lights, crystal chandeliers throwing golden reflections across the marble floor. It was the annual WHT Financial Christmas Gala, and the air smelled of expensive champagne and pine from the towering tree in the corner. Employees in tuxedos and evening gowns laughed too loudly clinked glasses and pretended the economy wasn't teetering on the edge of another crisis. Adam Carter stood near the dessert table nursing a glass of sparkling water. At 34, he looked younger than his years' dark hair, still thick blue eyes, tired but kind. He wore the same black suit he'd bought for his wife's funeral 3 years ago, the one that still smelled faintly of her perfume when he took it out of the closet. Tonight it felt like armor, a reminder that he had survived worse than awkward small talk. He was here because his boss had insisted. Lauren Whitmore, CEO of WHT Financial, had sent a curt email: attendance expected. No exceptions. Adam had never seen her smile at a company event. She was 40, sharp as a blade, twice divorced, and childless. To most of the staff, she was a legend, wrapped in fear, brilliant, ruthless, untouchable. But tonight something was different. Adam watched from across the room as Lauren held court near the bar. She wore a deep emerald gown that caught the light like liquid silk, her platinum hair swept up in an elegant chignon. She laughed, actually laughed at something a board member said, the sound carrying over the jazz quartet. Then she downed another glass of champagne too quickly. Adam frowned. Lauren Whitmore never drank at company functions. She never drank, period. As the night wore on, the crowd thinned. Adam was about to leave when he saw her stumble near the coat check. Her heel caught on the edge of the carpet. She swayed dangerously. Without thinking, Adam stepped forward and caught her elbow. "Careful, Ms. Whitmore." She looked up at him, eyes glassy. Carter. Her voice was slurred but still carried that commanding tone. "You're still here. I was just leaving. Do you need a ride? I can call your driver." She waved a hand dismissively. "Driver's gone. I fired him last week. Too many questions." She laughed again, a brittle sound that made Adam's stomach twist. "I'll be fine." Taxi. But when they stepped outside, the December wind hit like a slap. Snow flurries danced under the streetlights. Lauren tried to hail a cab, but her phone slipped from her fingers and clattered to the sidewalk. She bent to retrieve it, lost her balance, and would have fallen if Adam hadn't caught her again. "Come on," he said gently. "My car's around the corner. I'll drive you home." She looked at him. Really looked as if seeing him for the first time. "You're a good man, Carter. Too good for this place." Adam didn't know what to say to that. He guided her to his old Toyota Corolla parked 2 blocks away. The back seat was littered with Emma's toys, stuffed animals, a half-eaten bag of goldfish crackers, a crumpled drawing of a house with 3 stick figures labeled Daddy Emma and Mommy in heaven. Lauren climbed in without comment, leaning her head against the window. The drive to her Upper East Side penthouse took 20 minutes, but when they arrived, Lauren fumbled with her keys, then dropped them again. She tried to pick them up, swayed and vomited on the marble steps. Adam sighed. "Ms. Whitmore, you can't stay out here. My place is closer, just for the night." She didn't argue. Adam's apartment in Queens was nothing like hers. The building was old, the elevator creaked, and the hallway smelled faintly of someone's dinner. He carried her inside, laid her on the fold-out bed in what used to be his wife Sarah's office, and covered her with a blanket. Emma's room was down the hall, the door cracked open, soft night light glowing. Adam collapsed on the living room sofa, still in his suit, and stared at the ceiling until sleep finally took him. Morning light filtered through the thin curtains. The clock read 6:17 a.m. Adam's back ached from the lumpy couch. The apartment was quiet except for the low hum of the radiator and the distant rumble of the subway. He rubbed his eyes and sat up, remembering everything. Lauren Whitmore was sleeping in his dead wife's old room. He stood stretched and padded to the kitchen to start coffee. The door to the spare room was ajar. Lauren lay on her side, still in her emerald gown, hair loose across the pillow. She looked smaller, vulnerable, nothing like the woman who could make boardrooms tremble. Adam turned away, embarrassed to have stared. Emma's door creaked open. His 7-year-old daughter shuffled out in her unicorn pajamas, rubbing her eyes. "Daddy, is that coffee?" "Yeah, sweetheart." Go back to bed. It's early. Emma peered past him toward the spare room. Who's that? Adam hesitated. That's my boss. She wasn't feeling well last night, so she's resting here. Emma's eyes widened. She's pretty, but she looks sad. Before Adam could respond, a soft voice came from the doorway. I am sad, Lauren said, standing there in one of Adam's old t-shirts and sweatpants, hair-tangled, face bare of makeup. She looked exhausted, but there was something else in her expression, something almost like relief. Emma tilted her head. Why are you sad? Lauren opened her mouth, closed it, then smiled, a real smile, small and shaky. Because I forgot how to be happy, I think. Emma nodded solemnly, as if that made perfect sense. Daddy makes pancakes when I'm sad. Pancakes fix everything. Lauren's eyes met Adam's over Emma's head. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then Lauren said softly, I think I'd like some pancakes. Adam stared at Lauren for a beat too long, caught off guard by her words. The woman who commanded boardrooms, who could dismantle a faulty merger with a single glare, was standing in his cramped Queens apartment barefoot and rumpled, asking for pancakes like it was the most normal thing in the world. Pancakes it is, he said finally, forcing a casual tone. He busied himself at the counter, pulling out a mixing bowl and the box of biscuit he kept for Emma's weekend rituals. The kitchen was small cabinets painted a faded yellow, a fridge covered in Emma's artwork stick figure families under rainbow skies, a construction paper turkey from Thanksgiving. Lauren hovered near the doorway, arms crossed over the borrowed t-shirt that hung loosely on her frame. She looked around the space, her eyes lingering on the details, a framed photo on the windowsill of Adam, a younger Emma, and a woman with warm brown hair, Sarah, laughing in a park. Next to it, a stack of unpaid bills tucked under a coffee mug. The room smelled of last night's takeout and the faint lavender from Emma's shampoo. Emma tugged at Lauren's hand. You can sit here, she said, pointing to the chair where Sarah used to sit during family breakfasts. Lauren hesitated, then lowered herself into it, her posture still rigid, like she was attending a meeting rather than an impromptu meal. Adam cracked eggs into the bowl, whisking vigorously. How do you take your coffee, Black? Yet Lauren replied, her voice steadier now. Always black. He poured a mug and slid it across the table. Their fingers brushed briefly and she pulled back as if burned. Thank you, she murmured. For everything. Last night, I don't usually. It's fine, Adam interrupted gently. Really? We all have off nights. Lauren sipped the coffee, her gaze drifting to the window where snow dusted the fire escape. Your daughter? Emma. She's sweet. How old is she, 7? Going on 17 sometimes. Adam smiled, flipping the first pancake onto a plate. He added a smiley face with chocolate chips, just like he did for Emma. Emma climbed onto her chair opposite Lauren. I'm in 2nd grade. We're learning about dinosaurs. Do you like dinosaurs? Lauren blinked as if the question caught her off guard. I suppose I do. Which one's your favorite Triceratops? They have horns like superheroes. Emma beamed, then tilted her head. You look like a princess. But a sad one, like in the stories where they lose their castle. Adam winced. Emma, honey. But Lauren laughed, a soft, unexpected sound that filled the kitchen like sunlight breaking through clouds. It was the first real laugh Adam had ever heard from her, not the polished chuckle she used in meetings. You're right, Emma. I do feel a bit like that sometimes. Why Emma pressed undeterred. Lauren's smile faded slightly. She set down her mug, tracing the rim with her finger. Well, sometimes grown-ups forget how to be happy. They get busy with work and other things. Emma nodded wisely. Daddy gets sad too sometimes, but he makes pancakes and we watch cartoons and it gets better. Adam placed plates in front of them, pancake steaming syrup on the side. Eat up before they get cold. They ate in companionable silence, at first the clink of forks the only sound. Then Emma launched into a story about her school play, waving her arms dramatically as she described playing a tree that could talk. Lauren listened intently, her eyes fixed on the girl asking questions. What did the tree say? Did you have a costume? Her voice softened with each exchange, the corporate edge melting away. Adam watched them, a strange warmth blooming in his chest. It had been years since anyone but him and Emma sat at this table. Sarah's absence was a constant shadow, but today it felt a little less dark. When Emma finished her plate and skipped off to her room to change, the kitchen fell quiet again. Lauren pushed her half-eaten pancake around. "She's remarkable," she said softly. "So full of life." "She is," Adam agreed, clearing the plates. "Keeps me going." Lauren looked up at him, her gray eyes searching. "How do you do it, Adam? All of this, raising her alone, the job, the bills I see stacked there. After losing your wife, how do you manage and still find the kindness to help someone like me last night?" The question hung in the air, raw and unexpected. Adam paused at the sink, water running over his hands. No one had asked him that before, not really. Colleagues offered condolences, neighbors brought casseroles in the early days, but no one dug deeper. He turned off the faucet and leaned against the counter. "I don't know," he admitted. "Some days I barely hold it together." Sarah, she was the strong one. When she got sick, we promised each other we'd keep going for Emma. So I do, one day at a time. And being kind, it's not hard, it's just what you do when someone needs it. Lauren nodded slowly, her expression unreadable. Then quietly, "Do you think I could learn that from you? How to keep going, even when everything feels broken?" Adam met her gaze. There was vulnerability there, a crack in the armor she wore every day. Before he could respond, Emma burst back in, dressed in mismatched socks and a glittery shirt. "Daddy, can we build a snowman today?" The moment shattered, but the question lingered like an echo. Lauren stood smoothing her borrowed clothes. "I should go. Thank you again, Adam. For everything." She left a note on the table before slipping out a simple, "Thank you for seeing me as a person, not just the boss." Adam stared at it long after the door closed, wondering if that one night had opened a door neither of them expected. Weeks blurred into a routine that Adam never saw coming. It started, innocently enough, a text from Lauren the following Saturday. "Still up for teaching me pancakes? I'll bring ingredients." Adam stared at his phone, half expecting it to be a joke. But when she arrived at his door, arms laden with grocery bags and a tentative smile, he knew it wasn't. She wore jeans and a simple sweater, nothing like the power suits that defined her at the office. Emma squealed in delight, grabbing a bag to help. "You came back." Lauren knelt to Emma's level, her eyes softening. "I did. Couldn't resist those smiley-face pancakes. They spent the morning in the kitchen floor dusting the counters like fresh snow." Lauren measured ingredients with the precision of a boardroom presentation, but when it came to flipping, she sent one sailing onto the floor. Emma burst into giggles, and Lauren joined in her laughter, freer than before. Adam watched, a quiet warmth settling in his chest. It had been so long since the apartment felt alive like this. By the next weekend, it became a pattern. Lauren showed up with small gifts, a bouquet of daisies for Emma, a bottle of decent coffee for Adam. She'd sit on the living room floor helping Emma with puzzles or coloring books, her manicured nails clumsily gripping crayons. "This one's for you," Emma declared one afternoon, handing Lauren a drawing of 3 figures holding hands under a rainbow. "That's Daddy, me, and you." Lauren's fingers trembled as she took it. "It's beautiful, Emma." "Thank you." Adam noticed the changes in her, subtle at first, the way her shoulders relaxed, the lines around her eyes softening. At work, she was still the unyielding CEO barking orders in meetings, but when she glanced at him across the conference table, there was a shared secret in her nod. One crisp Sunday in late December, they ventured out to Central Park. Snow blanketed the paths, and Emma dashed ahead, scooping handfuls to make snowballs. Lauren walked beside Adam, her breath fogging the air. "I haven't done this in years," she admitted, watching Emma with a wistful smile. "Just being outside, no agenda." Adam shoved his hands into his pockets. "It's good for the soul. Sarah and I used to bring Emma here every winter. She'd build these lopsided snowmen that always melted by noon." Lauren glanced at him. "You talk about her so easily." "Sarah, doesn't it hurt every day?" he said honestly, "but hiding it hurts more. She was part of us. Emma needs to remember her mom was real, not some ghost." They found a bench near the frozen pond, Emma building a tiny fort nearby. Lauren stared at the skaters gliding across the ice, her expression distant. "I envy that," she whispered. "Being able to remember without regret." Adam turned to her. "What do you mean?" She hesitated, twisting her gloves in her lap. The wind picked up, carrying the distant laughter of children. Finally, she spoke, her voice barely above a murmur. "When I was 23, right out of business school, I was engaged, ambitious, driven. Then I found out I was pregnant." Adam stayed silent, sensing the weight of her words. "My family, they saw it as a derailment." "You can't throw away your future," they said. "The firm I was interning at made it clear no room for distractions, so I chose my career, terminated the pregnancy, told myself it was the smart move." Her eyes welled up, but she blinked fiercely. "I built everything after that 2 marriages that failed because I couldn't let anyone in a company that runs on fear. But at night, I wonder what that child would have been like if I'd been strong enough to choose differently." Adam reached out, covering her hand with his. It was cold, trembling. "Lauren, that doesn't make you broken. It makes you human. We all have choices we regret." She looked at him, tears spilling over. "I thought I couldn't love a child after that I didn't deserve to. But Emma, she looks at me like I'm worth something. Not the CEO, just me." "You are, Adam," said softly. "More than you know." Emma ran back then, cheeks pink from the cold. "Look, I made a snow angel." She flopped down beside them, oblivious to the moment. Lauren wiped her eyes and smiled. "It's perfect, sweetheart." As the sun dipped lower, they headed home, the air between Adam and Lauren charged with unspoken understanding. That evening, as Emma chattered about the park over dinner, Lauren stayed longer than usual, helping tuck the girl into bed. Adam walked her to the door, the hallway light casting long shadows. "Thank you for listening," she said. "No one's ever seen that part of me." "Anytime," he replied, and he meant it, but as the weeks passed, whispers started at the office. A junior analyst murmured in the break room, "Carter's been in her office a lot lately." A vice president raised an eyebrow during a budget meeting. "Interesting how some employees get special treatment." Lauren brushed it off at first, but Adam saw the tension creeping back into her posture. One Friday, she texted, "Can't make it tomorrow. Busy. The next weekend, the same." By the third, Adam felt the absence like a hole in their routine. Emma asked every day, "When's Lauren coming back?" He didn't know. But as he stared at his phone, waiting for a message that didn't come, he realized how much he missed her, not just for Emma, but for himself. The silence stretched longer than Adam expected. One missed Saturday became 2, then 3. The apartment felt emptier, without Lauren's quiet presence, without the sound of her laughter mixing with Emma's, without the faint scent of her expensive perfume lingering on the couch. Emma asked every evening, "Is Lauren coming tomorrow?" and Adam could only answer, "Maybe soon, sweetheart," while the word tasted like a lie. At the office, the whispers grew louder. During a Monday morning meeting, a senior vice president named Harlan leaned back in his chair, arms crossed, and said with a smirk, "Interesting how some people manage to get private meetings with the CEO lately. Must be doing something right." The room went still. Adam kept his eyes on his notes, but he felt the heat rise in his face. Lauren's voice cut through the tension like ice. "Mr. Harlan, if you have concerns about performance reviews or resource allocation, bring them to me in writing. Otherwise, let's focus on the quarterly projections." Harlan's smirk faded, but the damage was done. The rumor mill churned faster. Carter's sleeping his way to a promotion. She's using him to look human. Single dad gets special treatment, must be nice. Adam tried to ignore it. He buried himself in spreadsheets, came home to Emma's drawings and bedtime stories, but the absence gnawed at him. He caught himself checking his phone more often, hoping for a text that never came. 2 weeks after her last visit, Adam couldn't stand it anymore. He left work early, told the sitter he'd be late, and drove straight to the WHT headquarters. The building loomed in Midtown, all glass and steel, a monument to Lauren's empire. He took the elevator to the executive floor, heart pounding. The receptionist recognized him. "Mr. Carter, she's in a meeting, I'll wait," he said. He sat in the sleek waiting area for 40 minutes, watching assistants hurry past with folders and coffee. Finally, the double doors opened. Lauren emerged still in her power suit, hair pulled back tightly. She saw him and froze. "Adam," he stood. "We need to talk." She glanced at her assistant. "Cancel my next hour." Then she led him into her office and closed the door. The space was immaculate, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, a minimalist desk, no personal photos. It felt like a fortress. Lauren leaned against the desk, arms folded. "You shouldn't be here." "I shouldn't have to be," he replied. "You disappeared, no explanation. Emma keeps asking for you. I keep waiting for a reason." Her jaw tightened. "I'm trying to protect you from what gossip, Harlan, snide comments. I've heard worse." "It's not just gossip," she said quietly. "If this continues, if people think I'm favoring you, there will be an investigation. HR compliance, maybe even the board. You could lose your job, your benefits, everything you've built for Emma." Adam stepped closer. "And what about you? You're willing to throw away what we've started because of a few whispers," Lauren's eyes flashed. "I've spent 20 years building this company. I clawed my way up from nothing. 2 husbands who left because I wouldn't give up my career. A child I never let myself have. If I lose this," she gestured around the room, "I lose everything." "You're not losing everything," Adam said. "You're choosing to lose it because you're scared." She flinched as if slapped. "Don't. I'm not trying to hurt you," he continued, voice softening. "I'm trying to tell you the truth. You think you're protecting me. You're protecting yourself from feeling something real, from letting someone in after all these years of keeping everyone out." Tears welled in her eyes, but she blinked them back. "You don't understand. I've never been good at this. At relationships. At letting go of control." "I do understand," he said. "I lost my wife. I thought that was it for me and Emma forever. Then you showed up drunk and falling apart, and I saw someone who needed help. And helping you. It woke something up in me. Something I thought was gone." Lauren looked away toward the city lights beginning to sparkle against the darkening sky. "I don't know how to do this, Adam. I don't know how to be soft, vulnerable. I'm terrified I'll ruin it. Ruin you. Ruin Emma." He took another step. "Then let me show you. One day at a time. No pressure, no expectations, just us figuring it out." She met his gaze, and for a moment the armor cracked completely. A single tear escaped, tracing a line down her cheek. "I'm scared," she whispered. "I know," he said. "I'm scared too. But I'd rather be scared with you than safe without you." The room fell silent except for the distant hum of the city below. Lauren reached up, brushing the tear away. "I need time," she said finally. "To think. To figure out what I want." Adam nodded. "Take the time you need. I'll be here." He turned to leave, but at the door she spoke again. "Adam." He paused. "Thank you," she said, "for not walking away." He smiled faintly. "I don't walk away from people who matter." Then he left the elevator doors closing behind him, leaving Lauren alone in her glass tower, staring at the city she'd conquered, wondering if she had the courage to conquer her own heart. Christmas Eve arrived with a soft blanket of snow over Queens. The streets were quiet, the city holding its breath before the holiday rush. Adam's apartment glowed with the small string of lights he'd hung around the window, the same ones Sarah used to string every year. Emma had insisted on them this December, saying Mommy would want them up. Adam sat at the kitchen table watching his daughter wrap a small box with too much tape and crooked ribbon. Inside were 2 handmade bracelets, colorful rubber bands twisted into loops. One had tiny beads spelling Dad, the other, L.O. For Lauren, Emma explained solemnly, "If she doesn't come tonight, you keep the L.O. one okay. It means love." "And you love her, right?" Adam's throat tightened. He pulled Emma into a hug. "Yes, sweetheart, I do." He hadn't heard from Lauren in weeks. The last message had been a simple, "I need time," 3 days after their confrontation in her office. He respected it, but the waiting hurt. Emma had stopped asking every day, but the disappointment in her eyes when she glanced at the empty chair at the table said enough. They ate a simple dinner: roast chicken, mashed potatoes, and Emma's favorite cranberry sauce from a can. After they read The Night Before Christmas, Emma nestled against his side. When the clock struck 8, Adam tucked her in, kissed her forehead, and turned off the light. He returned to the living room, poured himself a glass of the cheap red wine he'd bought for the occasion, and sat on the couch. The tree lights blinked softly. He stared at the wrapped box on the coffee table, wondering if Lauren would ever see it. A soft knock came at the door. Adam froze. He opened it slowly. Lauren stood there in a simple wool coat, snowflakes caught in her hair, carrying a paper bag that smelled of cinnamon and ginger. No makeup, no power suit, just her looking small and uncertain in the hallway light. "Hi," she said, voice barely above a whisper. "Hi, Adam," replied, stepping aside. "Come in." She hesitated, then crossed the threshold. The apartment felt warmer the moment she entered. She set the bag on the counter, homemade gingerbread cookies still warm, and turned to him. "I'm sorry," she began. "For disappearing. For being afraid." Adam shook his head. "You don't have to explain." "I do," she insisted. "I spent my whole life building walls, thinking control meant safety. But the past few weeks, without you, without Emma, I realized I wasn't safe. I was just alone." She reached into her coat pocket and pulled out a small envelope. "I wrote this. For both of you." Adam took it, but before he could open it, Emma's door creaked open. She stood there in her pajamas, eyes wide. Lauren's face softened instantly. She knelt. "Hey, sweetheart." Emma ran forward and threw her arms around Lauren's neck. Lauren hugged her back, eyes closing as if she'd been waiting for this moment her whole life. Emma pulled away and grabbed the wrapped box from the table. "I made something for you. 2 bracelets, one for Daddy, one for you. So you remember we love you." Lauren opened the box with trembling fingers. She lifted the yellow bracelet, the beads catching the light. Tears spilled down her cheeks. "Thank you," she whispered, voice breaking. "Thank you for choosing me." Emma wiped Lauren's tears with her sleeve. "Who makes good cookies is worth choosing." Lauren laughed through her sobs, then looked at Adam. "I'm sorry I took so long." He crossed the room and pulled her into his arms. She fit against him perfectly, like she'd always belonged there. They stood like that for a long moment, Emma between them, the three of them forming a small, unbreakable circle. Later, after cookies and hot chocolate, they sat on the couch. Emma fell asleep between them, head on Lauren's lap. Lauren stroked the girl's hair, her expression peaceful. "I've been thinking about your question," she said quietly. "The one in the kitchen that first morning. How you keep going." Adam waited. "And I have one of my own," she continued. She looked at him, eyes shining. "Will you teach me how to love again? How to let someone in without fear?" Adam reached for her hand, threading his fingers through hers. "I already have," he said, "every time you walked through that door." She smiled, a real unguarded smile, and leaned in. Their kiss was soft, tentative, then deepening, with the certainty of something long awaited. Outside, snow fell gently over the city. Inside, the lights twinkled, the gingerbread cooled on the counter, and 3 hearts that had once been broken began to mend together. In the months that followed, Lauren sold her penthouse and moved into a modest brownstone in the same neighborhood. The walls were soon covered with Emma's drawings, the fridge with photos of the 3 of them, park days, baking disasters, quiet evenings. Adam quit the late nights at the office. Lauren learned to delegate. They built a life not perfect, not without arguments or old scars, but real. One evening, as spring bloomed outside, Lauren hung a framed photo in the hallway, the 3 of them on Christmas Eve snow and their hair smiles wide. Beneath it, she wrote in careful script, "I didn't choose the easy path, but I chose the one with heart." And in that small act, she chose love again and again every day.